You're going to get the sign any minute now.
We're on.
Good evening, Barnes.
How are you, chap?
What a week it's been, isn't it?
Yeah, hasn't it ever? Fantastic.
We've got
Isn't it lovely to see a game of cricket live out there as we're doing our podcast?
Can I just tell our listener and our watcher that we have an under-15s men's boys cricket match going on out there, and we have the very famous Pink Sheep going through a rigorous training session.
I saw that fitness session they were doing today. Looked like me and you should be doing it.
Honestly, they look very, very proficient.
One thing I would say, it's great to see the kids out there, but there's an awful lot of people out there, or children, 15-year-olds, with their shirts untucked.
Yes, yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is, thankfully, being a bit of a grumpy old person, my old coach, Tony Pullinger, didn't like people tucking their socks into their whites into their socks or crisscrossing their pads at the back. But you can't crisscross pads at the back anymore because they're all Velcro.
No, the only way you should ever tuck your cricket trousers in your socks is when you're cycling to the ground.
Exactly, and your name's Lurkers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Health and safety. Really.
Anyway, why don't you ask me what's in tonight's show?
Well, I don't know. What's in tonight's show?
Well, in a packed show tonight.
Excellent.
We're going to be discussing our hats. As you can see, we have two slightly different hats on than we usually have. We've got the league results to go through. That's very exciting. In general, a very good weekend for the Downs with the results. Then we're going to, we got a little bit of a video to show you, which we'll try very hard not to laugh at. Then there's just a little bit of general news. We'll do a catch up on the final internal county results in the VKO, and we can talk about some of the current things that are going on in and around cricket. Then we are very, very privileged to say that we have a very important guest, a very good old mate of mine, Dylan Swanepoel, is going to come and talk to us about mental health in cricket and sport generally. And that's going to be fantastic. We do have serious parts to this as well.
We had two serious parts last
We did have
week.
two serious parts, yeah.
Good.
So we are, we're not just gags, and it's not just about us. Then Barnes will ask some carefully chosen questions for Dylan, and then I'm going to ask them absolutely ludicrous questions of Barnes. Then we're going to go down and just mention when the next podcast is, so hopefully our current producers had to think about that. And then we're going to talk about who our next guest is. And we must be getting around to Dave the Pro time, aren't we?
Dave the Pro
Especially
time.
after this before this week. And we'll get onto that at the end of the show. Anyway, Barnes, tell us about your hat.
Oh, my hat. So I found this very, very old, proper, non-lasticated, non-Australian
It's a proper
baggie.
cricket hat.
Proper cricket hat. In the bottom of my dad's cricket bag many, many years ago, when he decided the best thing to do was to take his amazing big old leather bag with the leather straps on it and his initials written on it because his father was a signwriter. Before he launched it into the pit, which was heartbreaking, I found this badger at the bottom. So I sent it off to a mate of mine who got the sheep embroidered on it. I know my initials probably spoil it a little bit, but then nobody can pinch it.
Makes it all the more valuable.
Well, nobody can pinch it then. So I don't know. Dad's 90 now, so I guess this has got to be rocking in 60 or 70 years old.
So would you say that he scored more runs wearing that hat, or you scored more runs wearing that hat?
He'd have probably scored more runs wearing a blindfold than I.
Really? Was he a very fine player?
He was a decent player, to be fair.
Did he?
Yeah.
More hundreds than you, or fewer hundreds than you?
I don't know, probably.
Yeah.
He used to play 7 days a week. He was a farmer.
Did he?
Yeah.
That sounds like a good gig. I wouldn't mind doing that myself.
No, he was a useful cricketer, to be fair. Anyway, Bear, tell me about your...
So this hat's a very important hat, and Dylan, who comes on the Brasenose Strollers tour with me, will know about this hat because this is the Duke's poker hat. And if you're very, very lucky to be invited to play poker with the Dukes, there's a sort of ceremony where it doesn't involve taking your clothes off, rolling your trouser leg up or anything like that, but you get presented with the cap and then you play poker all night, not for lavish amounts of money, but it's an old tradition, and we have headmasters, we have masters in charge of classics, accountants, and they're a very, very boring lot, and they take poker very seriously, whereas I'm a bit blasé. I tend to go all in.
Do you?
Quite often.
There's a shock.
Yeah, it's right in. But so this is my Duke's hat, and my Duke's name is Bearaduke.
Bearaduke?
Yeah, I'm Bearaduke.
Like Marmaduke?
Yeah, a bit like that, Bearaduke, yes.
I like that, that's nice. Good.
Well, so yeah, that's the hats, and we have so many hats between us, we can keep this going for months and months and months and months and months. Anyway, we're going to now talk about the league results, but before we do, we're going to ask the current producer. I mean, we were discussing in our commentary on Saturday, weren't we, that last year's champagne moment was when we talked in Ollie Armstrong's wicket of the last ball of his spell in the VKO.
Yes.
And we talked it in and he bowled in and it was absolutely fantastic, and that was the champagne moment. And we were discussing when we thought this year's champagne moment might occur when this happened. Because I think that... What's happening?
Screens.
Screens. So Barnes is going over to move the screens because he is an athlete.
The bloody pole snapped. Look at that. Fucking health and safety's gone wrong. I'm going to sue the club for injury damage.
This isn't great commentary.
Look, I'm suing the club. Oh, wow.
We were just talking about the best champagne moment of all time while we've been commentating. I think we've just had it. Barnes has just tried to he's just tried to move the sight screen on and use it as a tackle bag, and has absolutely mullered the sight screen and knocked the whole of the upright out in one bit and ended up going arse over tit and cartwheeling. That's going to hurt now, isn't it?
That's going to be a hurty. Yeah.
But put some ice on it from the Diet Coke.
Go.
So we weren't actually listening to the sound because the current producer hasn't been able to get the technology right so we can listen. Either that or he didn't want us laughing. But even though we couldn't hear it, we were still laughing because we knew what happened. Anyway, Barnes, how is your shin?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's brilliant. And it's just worth it, wasn't it?
It was one of those things that you just can't choreograph and you can't cater for, but it's absolute gold. And we're going to see if we can tack some of that onto our theme tune for future shows, just to get people in the mood.
Get them giggling.
Anyway, so that obviously happened during the first 11 game, and Barnes is now going to take you through the results and what happened over the weekend.
Well, I'll run through the first team result quite quickly because obviously Dylan's here and he was part of the Oxford side, so I won't rub it in. Oxford Downs won the toss, elected to bat, and we posted 249. Dave the Pro was the top scorer with 86. Matt Warner batted really well for 37, and Tom Ettrich got quite a flary 35. And then we skittled Oxford relatively cheaply, so Downs ended up winning by 182 runs, which was a bit of a shame. But still a very, very good result for us. The bowling figures were obviously very good. Matt Warner went over 6 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 14. Brocky bowled really well, took 3 for 26 off his 7. Ollie Armstrong came back well and 2 for 21 and picked up a couple of key wickets. But had he not gone around the wicket, I wouldn't have fallen over the side screen.
I know.
There we go. And then obviously Dave the Pro, 3.5 overs, 3 for 6.
And in a very tight contest, we unanimously awarded Dave the Pro as man of the match for his 85 and 3 for, and his ridiculous appealing, where on the last wicket of the day, when I was actually interviewing George Tate, the Oxford captain, he appealed and just carried on walking to the pavilion without actually checking with the umpire whether it was going to be given out or not. So yes, that was a bit a la Stuart Broad. But anyway, carry on.
Very good. So the second team travelled away to East Oxford, that are flying high at the top of the league. East Oxford posted 233. Ozair Malik, who's now joined us as a fine cricketer, came from East Oxford, and I think he probably copped a bit of flack along the way.
Few verbals,
he picked
bit
up
of banter.
5 for 38, and sadly Oxford Downs 2s are all out for 136. On a brighter note, the third team posted 181 and bowled Garsington out for 115. It's Garsington first team, it's a great result. Stars of the show really was Tom Gould, had 4 for 31, and Pete Bellow 4 for 39. So they won quite comfortably. And then the fourth team, who I must add, are top of the league there. So fantastic. That's really, really good.
Fantastic.
So they posted 266. Stevie Roberts. Heard of him?
Well, he used to be a bowler, didn't he?
He used to be a bowler, and he's up there a lot. He took 72 wickets in one season for me.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Obviously bowled him too long.
Yep.
So Stevie Roberts 135 not out, and Sholtay Hunt was 87. Got 87.
And that's Stevie's second 100 of the season, isn't it?
Is it?
I think so. He's got another 100. So
very good. So well done, Sholtay. That's excellent.
And the 4s are under the captaincy of Paddy Daniel, is it? Who's
no, there's 3 captains doing a 6-week stint each.
It's a sort of committee, is it? Sort of
yeah, I think
committee.
so.
Okay.
But they bowled Wolvercote out for 172, and the star man really was Nick Bishop, who bowled 8 overs, 1 for 7. So well bowled Bish in his first season.
Fantastic.
But still claiming to me on Saturday night over a beer that he's still a batsman.
Really?
And he's upset.
Underutilised by the club.
Sounds like it. And there we go. Other news, Horsepath, Tiddington. What a bizarre game of cricket that was.
Yes, so I've got this down as part of the news that we can talk about, so you can carry straight on to that. That's a good segue, a fantastic segue. Well done. See, do you know what? They even heard that was a great segue out there.
Do you know what? Sex and comedy is all in the time.
It's fantastic, yeah.
Very good. So, Tiddington obviously hosted Horsepath in the Oxfordshire final for the VKO. And all the way through, it looked like that Horsepath was struggling to get the runs. And then they decided to hit 6 off the last ball, very similar to what Frankie Beans did here a couple of years ago. So, poor old Tiddington, as I said before, a much-loved club by my good self. But I think Horsepath, we'd have put a lot of money on the way that they played against us here
they played well
in the semi-final. But very, very unlucky for Tid for taking them to the last ball. But good luck, Horsepath, in the Nationals. And I hope you do very, very well and represent Oxfordshire cricket and maybe go all the way, which would be great.
Other news that I had, we probably ought to discuss that our premier test match spinner has declared himself injured for the Ashes today. So they're now hunting frantically for somebody that can bowl 60 overs per test match. And the money seems to be on ringing up Moeen Ali and see if he can come out of retirement, apparently.
Really?
Apparently, yes. He's obviously been playing white ball. But funnily enough, he only played one test in the last Ashes series, and that was the Edgbaston one.
So Leach is injured? Leach
has got a stress fracture in his lower back. Whether he had that going into the Ireland match, I don't know.
The all-important.
But the other option was the young 19-year-old leg spinner, Ahmed.
Yeah.
But I think that they may feel that's a little bit of a big ask going into the Ashes series.
How quickly could they register Dave the pro?
Well, I don't know, and there's James Coles, of course, another Oxford-grown boy. He might be in the frame, bowling his left arm stuff. So so anyway, we don't know yet. We're not the selectors of the England team, but if it was us, I think we think Mo would be a good call. He's got experience. He's obviously at the top of his game in white ball cricket, and he's a hell of a batsman.
Yeah, and I think you're overlooking Lurkers.
Well, yes, of course.
Lurkers isn't a spinner naturally.
Lurkers would have to cycle all the way to all the test match venues, of course.
Yeah.
And with his pipe.
But it'd be okay, because if the old Just Stop Oil people got in way, like they did at the start of the test match, Lurkers could go round him on his bike.
I think Lurkers has got as good a chance as I have of getting in that test series, which is obviously high. Good. And the other final bit's been interesting, obviously, with Oxford here at the weekend, Rupert Evans was here with them, and just an update, the results of the inquiry into what's been going on in Oxfordshire will happen this week, apparently. So hopefully that can be dealt with, a line can be drawn under it, and everyone will behave better in the future, and cricket will be the better place for it.
Do we know how far it's gone up in the ECB?
No, I don't know anything about it at all, to be fair. And I suspect what will happen is there'll be a statement which will tell us absolutely nothing.
Yes.
And
there'll be lots of long, fluffy words.
There will be, and really the rumour mills will start then. And I think that's not a great idea. But anyway, let's wait and see. But obviously, Rupert being a good old friend of mine, he did look under pressure, and it'd be nice to see him get back to good old Rupert, and he can relax and get on with doing what he likes to do, which is to coach and manage cricket teams. So
we had 2 bears at the same club, didn't we?
We had lots of bears, and then apparently Paul Humphreys, who was here yesterday evening, his wife calls him Bear as well. So really? There were bears all over the place.
Was here yesterday.
He was here because his horse came 3rd in the Oaks, apparently, and he went to Mick Shannon's birthday party.
And I was really upset because I put some money on it in the 1,000 guineas, and it did give me a...
And can I just say to our viewer that we don't encourage gambling at all in any way, shape or form.
No, but I'm upset that Humphreys, I didn't see him because I was perched around the corner.
I don't know how you missed Sarah. She had this bright pink dress on, but that's another story.
There we go.
Anyway, so that's the sort of current interesting things that are going on in and around international and, of course, the most important Oxfordshire cricket. So now we get on to the most important part of the evening.
I've been looking forward to this.
And this is the point, Dylan, where you come and you sit in between us.
We could clap.
Yep.
Might even stand.
Dylan, and as all special guests, how good to see you. All special guests get a Weller's pen. So please do take that Weller's pen and write important things with it in the future.
Not on the table.
I'll try my best to avoid the table.
Not on the table.
OK, Dylan, so why are you here? I mean, I think, look, this is a very important... I'm not going to pretend that I know very much about it yet. Matt's not going to pretend he knows a lot about it. You are pioneering in this whole area. So perhaps just briefly say what it's all about and briefly say how our listener and our viewer can sort of help sort of promote what's going on. I noticed we've got one of these banners over the far side as well, so it's all over. All your team had these T-shirts on, which is great. So it feels like there's a wave moving in the right direction, but perhaps you can just elaborate.
Yeah, so at Oxford Cricket Club this year, I sort of put it forward the idea of us promoting mental health awareness, especially through the month of May. And I got in contact with Opening Up Cricket, who this side of me. They are a fantastic charity promoting mental health well-being and suicide prevention through the medium of cricket, which has been fantastic to work alongside in the last month or so. And you often see their banners lurking around cricket grounds, promoting sort of what the work they're doing and how important it is. And they are going around the country into universities, club cricket, and also linking us between the pros and ourselves, and sort of giving us an insight into how they deal with mental health and how we are now dealing with it at a local level, at a club level, which is where I came in, which is my big thing.
So they're sort of providing a platform, basically,
Yes.
of where there's some help and some professional people that are
Yes.
at the end of a phone call or whatever it needs to be.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of training on there. So I've done actually the training twice of suicide prevention training that is on their website, which is sort of fantastic insight for me. And having dealt with things in the past, it was eye-opening, and I couldn't express my gratitude to going through that training and to opening up cricket and finding a way into expressing how mental health impacts everyone. That was massive for me. So,
And if you phone, there's obviously a number. If you phone up, will there always be someone on the other end of the phone, or will you need to sort of book an appointment or a telephone appointment? How does it work?
so there are a couple of places you can go to. So one of them is Calm, which is a helpline, which is really closely linked to opening up cricket. But I also came across the Samaritans charity, which are available 365, 24 hours a day, and they are fantastic. So these charities are massive, and you don't need to book. It's more about just knowing that there are people out there that will listen to you, and that you're not alone in your struggles. That there are people that have had experiences, and
I guess I can understand. I mean, there's obviously some high-profile stories like the Bairstow story, where obviously David took his own life, and then Johnny immediately wanted to become a professional. I imagine Johnny's mum was a little bit nervous about that at the start, but I can sort of understand what it's like being a professional sportsman, and then when your career finishes, you're wondering what you're going to do next. But as an amateur sportsman, I don't think either Matt or I were aware of people getting into that sort of mental state through amateur sport as well, and that obviously this is an issue that you're picking up on more and more.
I think with these, sorry, Dylan, I think certainly with the professional stuff, obviously what happened to Scothic, Jonathan Trott, and there's more and more Stokesy and other people, but also other sports. Obviously Flintoff was a big one that came out, but people like Ricky Hatton and other people that when they come out, and Haskell, James Haskell, the most bullish man in world sport, is openly coming out and talking about it. And I think a lot of, from a pro's point of view, is that they have that structure. When to eat, when to do this, what clothes to wear, got to be here at this time. And that's the bit that they can't cope with, whether or not it's the fame bit, but also not having that structure in their life. And all of a sudden, you're in the limelight, you retire, you walk away, and then what happens now? That seems to be
in the amateur side, how do you spot that people are, is it because they are more embroiled in their, I mean, I love cricket and I love hockey, but I never felt that, I mean, work was my most important thing. Those are my pastimes. But you're obviously finding in amateur sport that people are getting themselves into a muddle simply because of what's going on in what's effectively their hobby.
yeah. So for me, cricket is massive mental health game. I find that I've had ebbs and flows in cricket as most people do, and I said in the interview which I did with Opening Up Cricket that I went for a whole month there. That's 5 weeks straight. I faced 5 balls, got 5 ducks. And after that, I found personally, I had massive burnout, and I was struggling massively in the game of cricket. And I was fortunate enough that I actually threw my toys, and I lost the plot during a training session.
Dylan, do you think that those ducks led you to feel really bad, or things were happening before that, and that was affecting the way that you were playing cricket? Because all of a sudden you got loads of other things going on in your mind where sort of cricket didn't really matter, but you sort of went to play because you thought it might help.
Yeah, so I use cricket as a gateway, as a sort of a release. But when that release wasn't leading to success, that caused me to to go further down
Yes.
into a state that which I wasn't happy with. And in that time, in that year, I was dealing with depression, with anxiety, with homesickness. So I moved away from home from when I was 18, and my parents are still in South Africa and very far away from me. And because of that, I had to deal with a lot on my own, and felt like I had to deal with it on my own because there was no one around me. Didn't feel like I had a support group.
Yeah.
And do you find it sort of helped you? And I've been on tour with you many times, and it's a full-on tour. You know, we play hard, and then we play harder in the evening.
Yes, we do.
Do you find that helps you, or do you think that you then start to think everyone else is having a great time, but deep down I'm not? Does it make it worse, or does it make it better?
I think for me at times it was just a distraction. It took me away from being in a tough spot, but I was always still there.
Yeah.
So in that time, the 2020 tour, which was fantastic, was my second tour with the boys, and I finally felt I was part of a group. But a few months later, I during COVID, I nearly didn't make it through COVID. And in that interview there, I tell my story there a bit more, but to give you sort of an insight to it, I was one step away from falling in front of a bus, basically. And
is it because with what you're doing, people are more likely to talk to their teammates about it, and the teammates aren't going to take the mickey. They're going to be more sort of sympathetic or empathetic about it, and they're going to understand much more about what you're going through. Because in the past, you know, going back decades, the banter in a cricket room, changing room, you getting 5 ducks in a row would have been non-stop banter in your direction. And no one, we started to have a bit of a go at Freddie Bear because he's now got 2 lead ducks in a row, and we're saying he's moving on to a bit. We don't know whether that's causing him issues that he's not telling us about, and all this stuff is making people much more aware, and hopefully will mean that because of what you're doing and what all the people around you are doing is that they're going to say, look, do you know what, actually I'm not feeling great about this, and people are going to understand more.
I also think there's a responsibility for your teammates to actually take somebody aside, have a chat with them. You sure you're okay? Meet them up from the beer, and whether or not it's just a chat about Mrs. Kids, cricket, football, whatever. There should always be that conversation. Are you all right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really important. And certainly, you know, at rugby, I've had 1 or 2 guys that have come up to me and spoken to me about it, and I've tried to help them get help. And interestingly, we had a lady turn up at the club, and she was doing some pre-season training, and she trained through pre-season with us, and she just got a grant, I think, from Oxford University or somebody, sort of millions of pounds, because of the link between depression and anxiety and rugby because of the collisions, and there's more chance of rugby players ending up. So it's not just cricket, it's not just rugby, it's everywhere, and it may even be somebody that's not really even playing any sport. If they get to hear this or get to hear your story, whether or not they're just a bricklayer that goes and plays darts on a boat, it doesn't matter how you end up there. It's just how you come out the other side, isn't it?
I remember back in the day, a couple of very high-profile Oxfordshire cricketers, Dickie Pinio and Simon Porter, the late great Simon Porter, both got the jips, and they couldn't bowl. They literally, I played in a game that Simon Porter lost it. It was at Buckingham away. I remember it well, and he took 17 balls to get through the over, and he never bowled on the square ever again. And we, as a bunch of irresponsible youngsters, thought it was hilarious. And actually, you know, it probably turned out to be one of the things that made Simon's life very difficult for him moving forwards, because, you know, that's what he did. He bowled off spin, and he bowled off spin really well, and then all of a sudden he couldn't do it.
So Dylan, from that day that you talked to me about out there and you just touched on here, right, you cannot get any lower and you cannot feel any worse than that day. But here you are now, very handsome, charming, good-looking guy that bowls a bit of left arm over. His trousers are too short on Saturday.
Yeah, we did spot your trousers a little bit too short,
You've come an incredibly long way. You're miles from your family. How on earth did you find the strength to go forward? Take a little step, whatever. Yeah. Fortunately, you didn't take that step forward. But you know what I'm trying to say is that how did you go from that very, 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 very low, dark place to where you are now? Because it is quite remarkable.
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to say is that everyone thinks that mental health, or certain people think mental health is a weakness, Well, it's not, because you're stronger than probably most of the other people I've ever met.
Yeah.
So, great credit to you. But just try and tell me, Bear, and the listener, how on earth you did that.
Yeah. So the first 24 hours, I cried for pretty much 24 hours straight, and I remember shaking myself to sleep and being so emotionally drained.
You were all by yourself at this time?
All by myself, just in a room, cooped up in a room. And the best thing that I ever did was the next day I went and I spoke to the house mistress that I was at the school I was working at, and being able to talk to her, it took pressure off me, and it let my shoulders relax. It just let me drop a little bit, and then I went to go seek counselling, and I was in counselling for a year straight. And I'd been to counselling before for other reasons, but to be able to open up to someone that, look, I'm struggling, and to admit that I'm vulnerable, that was the best thing I did. It was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life.
Obviously.
But it was the greatest thing, and then being able to reach out to...
So were you sort of torn between, oh my God, I feel very vulnerable, I need to talk to somebody, get professional help, but also thinking, does this guy or these people think I'm really weak, and am I this, am I that? Because the balance of your emotions must be completely all over the shop.
Yeah, that was massive for me. So I still deal with that to today. That me opening up, I'm always subconsciously worried about what people are going to think or what I'm saying, and I know that fear, and I just knew I had to say something to someone, and I found someone I trusted.
And it's got to be someone neutral, really, because someone that to have the confidence to go to someone that, like, say, come to me or go to Joe or someone like that, who you don't know how they're going to take it. I mean, I think that we all love you, and we would all be very compassionate about it. And it would have, but you want someone who's professionally trained at dealing with what you went through. It worked, obviously. Now, can you just tell me you got your 5 ducks? What was the first run you scored after those 5 ducks? Because I remember you came down on tour and smashed it all over the park, didn't you? So because when you got injured, that presumably was part of the catalyst. So you couldn't bowl for a while, and you were kind of playing as a batsman mainly.
Yeah. So fortunately, that was the year after it happened. But that the injury I had last year did set me back a long way, and I was fortunate.
Physically and mentally.
Physically and mentally, but fortunately, I got a big bear hug after I scored my first 100 on tour.
You did, and still recovering, aren't you?
Still recovering. So
physically, you had broken ribs and a cut.
And that was your first ever 100.
That was my first ever 100.
And that after that must have felt good.
That felt amazing. But the year before, the first ever one, I remember the game was Aston Rowan away, and Oxford. At that point, we were struggling. I mean, we struggled last year as well, but we were at the point where we needed a game to win to stay up. And I remember Hayden Rousseau came charging in, but pitch black at Rowan, just bowled short balls and bumped most of our boys out, and came in. We needed 10, 12 runs to win. I've just seen it home there.
Yeah. Well, they go and see, and you are a genuine all-rounder, and so if you don't succeed with the ball, you've got the bat to succeed with. And Barnes and I have been in places where you wonder how on earth you're going to get the ball off the square sometimes, and then all of a sudden you'll edge it through the slips before, and then it all happens. That's
exactly how I hit the winning runs.
Well, there you go. You see, edge through the slips is as good as a cover. I mean, our current producer once got 5 runs, and he thought it was the best thing that's ever happened to him. It's like, it's still your top score, current producer. 8's his top score. See, 8's his top score, but he was very excited and very proud of that 8. But yeah, I mean, so just so that how do people? What is your advice to people who are where you were right now? What numbers do they need to call? Where do they need to go?
Hopefully, we might catch a few before they get as deep as this poor
Yes,
man was.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Anybody that's feeling slightly vulnerable, what's the platform? What's the best way around it?
So for me, it was talk to as many people as you can.
And that's all your friends, all your colleagues, all your teammates.
Yeah, just speak to every single person that we can. Even the lady that's just walked through us. You can even chat to her if you want to.
She's aware.
Can I just say that she's been stalking me for months, and I'm going to have something done about that. Sorry.
But yeah, for me, the best thing was just to talk. And as soon as I was able to talk and take that scary step, which we spoke about outside earlier, it is liberating. And to let other people in and to be vulnerable, that is the best thing. And just know that there are people out there that will listen to you. And I think those that will be there to listen.
Yeah.
Best advice I can give is don't try to fix anyone, and just listen to them.
And do you have some, not giving away any trade secrets, do you have some things you do to, if you feel it coming back again? I know some people have an elastic band, don't they, that they thwack themselves on the inside of the wrist and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have some, have they taught you some techniques to get yourself through whatever sort of darkness you might be through?
So I do a lot of breathing
yeah.
exercises, and that I don't know how to explain it, but box breathing, that's what it was taught to me as, was I'd breathe in for 5 seconds, hold for 6 seconds, exhale for 7.
Yeah.
That really helped me a lot. And then
Fantastic.
What I love doing is writing. And I just write a whole lot of nonsense.
Just as well you've got a Wellers pen to do that with now, then, isn't it? It's extremely important. Yeah.
What sort of, you said about nonsense, is there any purpose to the writing? Is it just about free in your mind, or
it's just free in my mind?
You keep a diary now. Is that a diary?
I do keep a diary.
Okay.
It's not necessarily a neatest diary. It's a bit of scribble about anything, and as soon as I feel overwhelmed, I go through that medium and I just write exactly what I'm feeling. Yeah. And then often it leads into a story of something completely irrelevant.
Okay.
Like you can sort of trace what my thoughts are, and where it leads off into.
And these techniques can be passed on to everyone to help them. Yes. Or be part of the sort of tools they use, can't they? Be fantastic.
And then as well, again, as soon as I feel it, I phone a mate. And I'm fortunate enough that I'm very close to my parents after that incident, that I can just pick the phone up and go, look,
brilliant.
It's
and to any of us, and in particular to the current Mrs. Bear, she is always there for you, you know that.
Yeah, it was very, very exciting seeing the kind Mrs. Bear on Saturday.
Fantastic.
And she definitely lightened the mood after the game.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's so much more we could talk about, but we are on a limited timescale, and Barnes has some very important questions he wants to ask.
Just before we touch on that, Dylan, what's any links and stuff that we can put on our social media, like Bear touched on? Is there phone numbers, is there email addresses, links to different platforms, and obviously your opening up thing, how can we, all cricket clubs make the awareness so much greater? Because I guarantee you in every cricket club, somebody will be struggling. Yeah. I pretty much put my life on that.
And any other sports club as well.
Exactly.
I mean, are there equivalents of you? Is that the next step once you've got cricket and all the pathways in cricket nailed? Is the next step to try and join all the sports together and to have a sort of network of people from every sport?
So an exclusive coming to you first hand.
Listener, pay attention. This is an exclusive.
Is Thursday, the 17th of August. We at Oxford Cricket Club are hosting Opening Up Cricket for a workshop on mental health, and the idea is to invite everyone. So that's not just a cricket-based workshop anymore. Yes, we'll use cricket as the medium, but it is cricket, hockey, football, rugby.
Fantastic.
Anyone that could play bowls. We can get the bowls club involved. It's to get anyone there. And in terms of links, there's the Samaritan charity, there's Calm Zone, there's a lot of social media platforms, there's also Mind charity, as well as Oxford Cricket Club. We have started posting more and more on mental health, and I will continue to do so throughout.
So the event that Oxford are hosting, is that for any individual that's feeling vulnerable and feel they need to talk to somebody, or is it a sort of shout out to any sports club to say, really, you should have a representative there?
It's more to have a representative there.
Yeah, okay, cool.
To say, here's a bit of guidance on how to manage mental health, and then how to have a mental health plan within your club.
Yeah. Is that happening at the same time as a league game, or is there not a league game going on?
No, so it's a Thursday.
Oh, Thursday. So okay, good, right.
We'll be training and then shifting straight upstairs.
That's the week after the Strollers tour. You think you'll be in a fit state to be doing stuff like that?
Originally it was meant to be during the Strollers tour, and I was
the Strollers tour. Nothing. Yeah, the Strollers tour is very important.
And when was that again? August the what?
August 17th. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, we'll try and put a bit of a thing on we'll get the current producer to put something up on our website if we can. Okay. Brilliant. That's been so informative, and do you know what? How brave are you to be opening up like that? It's fantastic.
So amazing. Well done. Honestly, I'd take my hat off to you.
Yeah.
And I know we had a conversation out there, but like we touched on earlier on, people that think that mental illness is a weakness, your strength is amazing. It's encouraging, and you're a pretty inspirational guy, mate, to be honest. And I think it's great.
Thank
I
you.
really generally think
So
it's
just
great.
now we've got you in a good place. Barnes is going to ask you some questions, which are going to...
This should lighten the mood.
How
We're going to
exciting.
delve deeper.
I've been relatively gentle. This is quick fire, okay? First thing that comes into your head, Bear is not the answer to any of these questions. I just need to
I
point
could
that
be
out.
the answer to
You
so
could
many
be,
questions,
but I want you to
not these
lie.
ones.
Right, first cricket in memory.
2003 World Cup opening ceremony.
Very good. First cricketing hero.
John T. Rhodes.
Oh, I love that. More based on me than
He
you
reminds me
there,
a lot of my fielding, John T. Rhodes.
Best South African cricketer and best South African captain.
For me, Jacques Kallis, he became my hero, greatest ever. And then I would like to say Hansi Cronje.
Good.
Controversial.
Like that. Best South African sportsman.
Ooh. That is a good one. Oh, that's stumped me. I haven't thought about South African sportsmen for a while. We'll go Chad Leclerc.
Okay, tell me more about him.
Chad Leclerc winning the 2012 Olympic gold against
Right.
Michael Phelps.
Okay.
And they're going back to back in butterfly. That for me was really, really outstanding.
Brilliant.
I thought you were going to say Brian Habana for a minute.
Right, no,
No.
no. Good. Right, favourite singer or band?
Ooh. Favorite singer at the moment, I would probably say Craig David.
Okay, band?
Band, Bastille.
Right, cool.
I'm a bit disappointed. You've heard me singing on tour. Was I in with the squeak
No,
there?
because none of the answers are Bear.
be
We've
Bear.
just been
I
through
had to-
that.
I have to
Can you
lie.
turn his mic off? Favourite film and why?
Top Gun, the first one.
Very good. Very good call.
all action, all planes.
Okay,
Yes,
cool.
yes.
So you're on death row. You've got 3 meals. Sorry, your last meal, 3 courses. What are you going for?
3 courses.
Starter, main, pudding.
Starter, prawn cocktail.
Come on, that's a bouncer. Yeah.
Main, I would have my mother's spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah, cool.
Spag
Shipped in.
bowl.
Yeah.
With parmesan?
With parmesan.
Oh, with parmesan, obviously.
Yeah.
With a load of parmesan. And dessert, I'll probably say milk dat, which is a South African dish.
Well, what is that?
It's sort of like our version of sticky toffee pudding.
Oh, so quite good for my waistline.
Yeah, you'll be good with that, mate.
Yeah.
You'd nail that in absolutely.
Fantastic.
Who would you most like to meet who is currently alive, and who would you most like to meet who's now dead?
Dead, I would say Malcolm X. I thought he's just inspirational, going up through learning that through history.
Yeah.
Alive, I think I've met everyone that I want to meet. We'll say Brendan McCullum.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we can arrange that.
Very good. Bat or bowl?
Ball
Favourite position?
next to Bear.
Is the right answer.
That's a horrific thing. Best cricket tees that you've come across since you've been in England?
I'll tell you what. One in Devon, Hatherley Cricket Club. Unbelievable tees.
On the tour with Bear?
No. So I was
no,
on a
on
school
our
exchange, and that was a club I played for. Unbelievable spread.
Brilliant. Okay.
Otherwise, Molly Muir, who does our tees, we're in for a treat when you boys come to us.
Well, me and Bear will be there.
Yeah.
We would
We'll definitely be there now.
For the chocolate brownies alone.
Go-to karaoke song?
Not much of a singer.
You don't need to be as karaoke.
Summer of '69.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Favourite sandwich and favourite cake that should be in every cricket tee?
Favorite
Mentioned chocolate
sandwich.
brownies just a minute ago.
Well, definitely Molly Muir's chocolate brownies.
Yeah.
That is. I'd pay millions for it.
Making me feel quite hungry.
Sandwich?
Sandwich. Anything with chicken. Just
Strong.
not particularly chicken mayo. That seems a bit boring.
Yeah.
But if it's roasted chicken, flame grilled chicken
Peri-peri
sandwich,
sauce?
peri
Peri-peri
sauce.
sauce,
That
yes.
would be
Downs do we tend to do a very good chicken and bacon sandwich. This is always a favourite of mine.
Yeah.
Need to play more on Sundays. Pork scratchings or biltong?
biltong.
Obviously.
I love pork scratchings, but it's not
It's
quite
got to be proper, not chewy built on.
I was going to
No,
say,
it's
I
got
don't
not-
see anybody ever saying pork
it can't be
scratchings.
chewy. It's got to be nice.
It's got to be from my uncle.
Dave, do you
who
like?
often goes
we
hunting.
have
and-
Dave the pros watching you. We have our superstars here. Do you like biltong? Loves
There
it.
you go.
Good man.
True or false? All midgets have night vision.
Ooh, I want to say true.
There's no right or wrong answer.
I was
Can I just say we're talking about the insect then? Before we start getting complaints, we're talking
Favourite
about
other
the
sport
insect.
apart from cricket?
To play hockey, to watch tennis.
Okay, cool. Liverpool or Arsenal?
Oh, Arsenal.
That's the end of the show.
Well done. Dylan, you've been absolutely sensational. Thank
It's
you
not
for coming.
actually. I've got more questions, but after he's demolished me with his Arsenal answer, Faf de Klerk or Faf du Plessis?
Faf de Klerk.
Oh, really?
Giant,
Good.
Giant Slayer. Anything for his hair.
Yes, he's a Bobby Dazzler, isn't he? And who's going to win the next Cricket World Cup?
Go on a limb. Pakistan.
We've just beaten them 5-0. haven't we?
No, it's just pretend. There'll be some money riding on it somewhere.
Dylan, thank you so much for coming on. You've been absolutely
for having me.
sensational. Brilliant.
Mate,
Thank you, Barnsley.
Well done.
man, see you after. That's
Keep,
brilliant.
keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Very,
Fantastic.
very
Round
good.
of applause.
Thank you,
Well
mate.
done. Go sit next door to Dave the Pro. Well,
Dave.
if that didn't inspire you, viewer, then I suggest nothing will. And what an unbelievable guy. I've been touring with him for many years, and I was in blissful ignorance as to the things he was going through, and
Well, there you
that just
go.
shows you. That does just show you, yeah.
He's forgot his pen. He obviously didn't
Yeah,
want his pen.
didn't want the Weller's pen. Right. Barnes, so Barnes, questions for you. I find as we go through the weeks, these are getting more and more bizarre as I run out of the normal questions that I would be asking somebody normally. So we'll start with an easy one. Graham Souness or Jordan Henderson?
Graham Souness.
Okay. What's your best chat-up line? And part B, did it ever work?
Yeah, I've fallen for you like a blind roofer and no.
Pans People or Legs & Co?
Pants people.
Yeah, quite right. They're never quite the same after that. Scott Gibbs or Ray Gravel?
Scotty Gibbs.
Is that because of the try he scored under the...
British Lions 97.
Okay. Monopoly or Cluedo?
Monopoly. Don't have to think as much.
Which is grammatically correct.
Don't know.
You put your toast in the toaster or you put your toast into the toaster?
No, you put bread in the toaster.
Yes, well done! See, you're learning.
I'm learning very fast.
You are learning. The greatest batsman you've ever seen play live?
David Gower.
No, I think that's an extremely good call. Right, here we go. Gus and Will are bouncing on a Pete the Heat bouncy castle in the jungle. You spot a venomous snake slithering towards them and neither has spotted it. Which one do you save? Or, in part B, do you throw yourself bravely onto the snake and end it all?
Yeah, of course I do. It's part B, isn't it? I don't save. I just do it.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you saved Gus and leave Will to deal with the snake.
You could wind me up as much as you want. There you go. The family rift continues. Yeah.
Favourite flavour of ice cream?
It's probably chocolate.
Can't go wrong with chocolate, really. Favourite cocktail?
I would say would be a. Don't know.
Pint of Guinness?
I'll come back to you on that.
Come back to the cocktail. Ashes prediction, score?
3-2 England.
3-2, good. Red ball or white ball?
Red ball.
Why do elephants have big ears?
I don't know, man.
Because Noddy won't pay the ransom. So everyone knows that.
Frozen Bellini would be my favourite.
I don't know what goes in that.
Peach. We need frozen peach sorbet and some.
Sounds nice.
That's very brilliant.
Right, favourite team to play against at rugby?
Probably either Gloucester or Harlequins. Not Oxford Harlequins, proper Quins.
And cricket?
Don't know really. Tiddington, because they're good old boys and you can guarantee a few Thatchers afterwards.
Question number 15. Will you ever try and move the sight screens again?
Yes, I will.
Really?
More due care and attention.
Can we make sure we have more cameras available for that when that does happen?
More due care and attention, and I will fill in some insurance thing first.
Okay, you're at a dinner party with Lurkers, Pete the Heat, and Taft the scorer from Oxford Cricket Club. Somebody suggests that you have a game of Twister in Mankinis. What's your next move?
It would be right arm to red circle.
Good. You wouldn't want to team up with anybody?
Well, Lurkers, because I know Lurkers of old, so I think, we'd be fine, me and Lurkers.
And the final question, your dream motor car?
Dream motor car. Some sort of Ferrari, I guess.
Okay.
Some noisy bit of kit.
They're not easy to drive.
Are they not?
The 3 or 4 I've had have been rubbish.
Yeah, sorry about that, Bear. I've obviously got the wrong answer. Thank you for that.
That's it. Those are your easy questions for today.
Yeah, that was
Thank
all
you,
right
Barnes.
today.
Well done.
Apart from the Will and Gus thing.
That's never going to stop.
No.
I'm going to continue to catch you out on a weekly basis.
Unbreakable.
Right, so we're nearly at the end of the show. All it leaves is for our current producer to tell us when we're on the air next.
2 weeks today?
What, this Saturday?
No, he's on about comms.
Yeah. Oh, right, yes, no, but...
It's two different franchises.
Yeah, and can I just say to our viewer that I won't be on comms on Saturday because I'll be in Portugal on a stag weekend. I'm sorry, Barnes, but I will be watching and listening and sending messages.
Well, I can't move the side screen then, can I?
You can't, so no side screen moving while I'm away. So,
okay.
So probably 2 weeks today is the most likely
2 weeks
date for
today, and I would like to ask the young gentleman over your left shoulder.
We think it's time for Dave the Pro to be our guest. So in 2 weeks' time, you are in this seat, Dave
I'm
the Pro.
predicting that he'd have probably bagged another 80-odd runs and at least 7 wickets before we sit down and talk to him. Another 7.
It was a sensational performance from a person that turned the game round when we desperately needed it.
Yeah, I was a bit upset he didn't get 100, really, because I thought the Stella sales would have gone through the roof.
I thought we can talk to him about that in a couple of weeks' time, but there were definite signs of nervous 80s from the point when he entered the 80s and then eventually got out to... But anyway, we'll talk through that. We'll get through...
And I do audacity to rinse me for my pathetic innings yesterday. But there we go. Never mind.
But,
so 2 weeks today, we'll get young Dave in. Yeah.
Dave the Pro can tell us all about
bring some biltong.
how he's enjoying being at Oxford Downs Cricket Club and all that sort of stuff. So
living the dream.
That would appear to be all we have time for tonight. So
good.
Until next time, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Good night, Barnes.
Good night.